Hi, friends. Hello, hello. I hope you're doing fantastic. Tonight, we're going to discuss the most interesting recent immigration news with me, attorney Alina Shautsova. I am a practicing immigration lawyer with more than 17 years of experience. I use my social media to educate you guys with regard to the most recent immigration news, immigration laws, share my tips with you, and of course, answer your questions. So please join me. Let me know where you're watching from. Say hello and prepare your questions. You can type them up in the comments. And after I'm done presenting, sharing the news, I will be reading them, your questions, and answering them. So say hello, let me know where you're watching from. Tonight we're going to be discussing important events that unfolded within the past couple of days and basically even like today. First announcement concerns President Trump's promise to end funding of sanctuary cities starting February 1st. This is not the first time President Trump stated that they would cut off funding of sanctuary cities, and it seems this time around they will really try doing that. Sanctuary cities such as Chicago, New York, for example, Minnesota is a state, LA. Sanctuary cities are the cities that do not cooperate with ICE. And basically what happens is that some states and municipalities, I forgot my English today, municipalities. So they cooperate with ICE. They sign certain agreements, and what happens is that if a person gets criminally charged or even stopped for a traffic violation, those representatives of those areas, cities, villages, cooperate with ICE and share person's information immediately with the law enforcement, ICE, immigration police. And the person basically gets picked up and processed by the immigration system in case they do not have immigration status strong enough for them to avoid detention. But sanctuary cities do not do that. Generally speaking, ICE agents cannot enter schools, hospitals, places of worship in sanctuary cities, and ICE. They do not like that. They want that to change. So there is a struggle between the federal and state governments, municipalities, locations. And one way federal government decided to address it is to cut off federal funding. I don't have the proper stats, but I'm going to tell you that a lot in those cities is being funded by the federal government. Usually it's sectors such as education, healthcare, social services, things like that. And that's what federal government is going to cut off, right? I guarantee you that there will be a lawsuit about that. But nevertheless, the way things are going, there is no guarantee that that lawsuit is going to win. We don't know what's going to happen. So for now, it's a real threat. We're going to see what's going to happen. And right now, sanctuary cities, like let's say New York, previous mayor basically stated that they cooperate with ICE in limited circumstances when it comes to people with heavy criminal records. They said that they would cooperate, but usually they don't. They don't just share information. So this mayor, I believe, stated that the new mayor stated that they would not cooperate with us, and hence there are all kind of threats coming sanctuary cities way. As I said, we'll see what's going to happen. This announcement was made, or at least published today, this fresh threat. What's going to happen, we're going to find out. In the meantime, Minnesota sues Trump administration to block immigration agents' deployment. Will they be successful? Well, the past similar lawsuits proved that they were not successful. Sometimes they're partially successful until it gets to the very high of the end of the litigation, and then federal courts basically they fold and say that the enforcement, the deployment will be allowed. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, we've seen something like this in Washington, D.C., right? We're going to see again what's going to happen. But at least Minnesota is trying to push back because the state rather got flooded with federal agents. And even people who supported Trump in the past started questioning this for this use of immigration police against the United States citizens, as we've seen. So a lot of tension, a lot of you know not good feelings coming from all of this that we've been seeing for the past week unfolded in Minnesota. And I know you know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to repeat it. It's scary, it's frustrating, it's sad. And we're going to see what the federal judges are going to say. The problem is that the United States Supreme Court is quite loyal to the president. And every big question, any big question, eventually would end up before the United States Supreme Court, right? And in the past, they ruled heavily in favor of the Trump's administration. So I don't really have much hope that the states are going to prevail in this fight. But we're going to see, right? We're going to see what's going to happen. Maybe after everything that the justices also probably have seen, they would change their mind on the enforcement, the ways that ICE is going about the enforcement, which is literally terrifying. And now, if you guys have some questions, I'll be very happy to answer them. One more thing I wanted to share with you, which is very important, is the fact that USCIS fees for certain applications have changed. It is all under the big, beautiful bill, so the change appeared automatically without the federal notice and grace period. And you have to check those fees when you're submitting forms to USCIS. Because if you make a mistake, your form is going to be rejected and you're going to lose valuable time. Sometimes it's very important to have that time. If we talk about expiration of your status, things like that. So make sure you check what the fees are for whatever forms you're going to be filing before USCIS. They changed. Not for every form, but for some forms under the one big beautiful bill. Okay. All right. Hi, Brittany from San Francisco. Hi, Veronica. Can a person who check in with ICE, I have final deportation, ask ICE to join a motion to help with reopening the asylum case denied and reopen the case to at least stop the deportation ordered in 2014? Hi, Veronica. So you don't ask ICE, you ask OPLA, Office of Legal Principal Advisor. This is the government attorneys that represent the government in your deportation proceedings. Can you do that? You absolutely can. Nowadays, they rarely join those motions unless certain specific circumstances are met, and especially if you're covered by special settlement agreements. Otherwise, you can always try your luck. Why not, right? Why not? I'm on the Philippines. Hi, in the Philippines. Hi, Lycouser, who says we MAGA question Trump. Well, maybe you're not questioning Trump, but there are plenty of our people who supported him at the beginning and now are questioning. I think you just have to refresh your news feed to see who is talking about. For example, Tucker Carlson just spoke about the enforcement in Minnesota. So why don't you refresh your news feed? Maybe you keep receiving the news of the same people, like-minded individuals. Maybe it's time to expand your horizon. Hi, Cruz George. If you are from banned country, you can still apply for a green card. Yes. So what's happening with those banned countries, guys? If you have deadlines to meet, if you would like to submit your applications, you can still file the applications, right? But at some point, they will be stopped. There will be no decision made, right? The processing is going to stop. At the same time, certain applications by people, nationals from the banned countries are still being processed. For example, I-90 form to replace your green card, right? So some applications are explicitly being exempt from the ban. And if you do have a deadline to meet, you still have to file your cases. But as I said, in certain situations, you just won't get decision. That's what's happening, okay? All right. Tell me, for obtaining asylum and sending for a green card, the maximum wait period for a green card. After you obtained asylum, there is no maximum wait time for anything, guys, in the United States. Some people who filed for asylum have been waiting for their interview, just for the interview, for 10 years. That's pretty long, right? So your wait time from the time you file for asylum until you get your green card, if you get your green card, may be very well 15 years. If for 10 years you're waiting for your interview, and then for 5 years you're waiting for your final court, and then for 1 more year you're waiting for your green card, actually it brings you to 16 years, right? So it can be forever. For other people, the timeline is different because their case was processed faster. But unfortunately, there are no firm deadlines for the government to consider anything. And we only can guess what can happen. And by the way, nowadays, most cases are on freeze. Green card applications by asylum seekers, for example. Thank you guys for sharing the stream and sending the gifts. Thank you very much. Thank you for your hearts. All right. Hi, 1876. I have a 4-year extension. How long it takes to get the 10-year green card? Well, that's unfortunately another question that there is no definite answer to. Typically, the government these days is going to consider your form I-751 within about 3 years. It takes a very long time. If they approve, fantastic. You're going to get permanent green card, and by then you qualify usually for citizenship. But it can be different. It can be that you will have an interview, then another interview, and your wait time is going to go well beyond 4 years. So what's going to happen if you've been waiting for more than 4 years on your permanent green card? You will have to start making appointments with USCIS to receive that edit stamp that proves that you're still a green card holder, which you will need for employment purposes or for travel purposes, for example. So it may take a long time, unfortunately. Hi, Eddie. I'm a refugee. I have travel documents in I-94. Are you legal or you're illegal? Well, you are legal. If you have a refugee status, of course, you are legal. But you need to know that if you received your refugee status during the previous administration, now the government stated they will be reviewing the validity and your qualifications. And they stopped benefits for all the refugees again. We have a lot of pauses on various areas concerning various areas of legal immigration. Hi, Devian. I-94 expired on January 2nd, but I-45 priority date December 19. Air travel still fine, married to a US citizen. I-94 expired on January 2nd, I-45. So you filed your I-45 prior to December 19th, travel fine. I would say no, do not travel. I've seen too many cases where people in your situation were placed in removal proceedings. By traveling, you are increasing your chances of being picked up by CBP. Will it happen in every single case? No. But you don't want to be one of those rare examples that are going to be flashed on the news saying, husband or spouse of a US citizen got picked up from the airport. You don't need it. It's the same advice I give people who are afraid of encounter with ICE. I just posted on my Instagram great advice by a law professor stating what ICE can and cannot do and what your rights would be if, for example, you are in a vehicle and they ask you to step out of the vehicle. The professor says that you don't have the obligation to do that. And he's probably right. But we've seen what's going to happen when you don't comply. It's not about even violation of your rights, it's about your life at this point. People get beaten up and unalived for non-compliance. So I cannot advise you to push for your Fourth Amendment at this point, or Fifth Amendment, because I'm afraid what's happened next, I will not be able to correct. I can take you out of the prison. I can not take you from the heaven. Okay? So that's my advice. I am very conservative and very defensive in my advice. And yes, I don't advise people to travel unless they have a green card, clean green card, or US passport. Right? I have a 4-year extension. How long? Yes, we discussed that. Doesn't necessarily go out of status if adjustment of status is denied. Not automatically. So what happens if adjustment of status is denied? You do not automatically use your asylum status. The government has to serve you with a notice, and or they have to place you in removal proceedings. So that's how it is. You have to terminate your asylum status. There is a procedure for that. But is it possible that you lose your status? Yes, it's possible. It also depends on the decision. If you filed for your green card prematurely, it's not a big deal. You're going to refile. If there is something else involved, like fraud, that's a more serious situation. You have to work with a lawyer, okay? That's serious. Hi, user 474. I have CAT, Convention Against Torture. Case. ICE monitors me, put me on ankle bracelet on my leg. I'm a mom of 2. My husband is a US citizen. Jesus Christ. What's going to be next? All right, so for people with bracelets, I know they are very annoying, but the alternative, it's not no bracelet. The alternative usually is detention, okay? Sometimes, after a month, you can ask ICE supervisor to remove the bracelet, especially if you showed yourself to be compliant. Usually you also have to call them, right? It's not just the bracelet, you have to call them every now and then. So if you show yourself to be compliant, you show yourself to be not at risk of flight, very often they will remove the bracelet from you and they're going to give it to someone else, somebody new, okay? So that would be my advice to you. I know those bracelets are anklets rather, extremely annoying, they're uncomfortable. Some people cannot have them for medical reasons because for some, I don't know how it works, but they cause migraines, all right? And if that's the case, you would have to basically get a medical note. I think what happens here is that usually a medical note is enough. Sometimes you have to have like an MRI done and this thing has to go off your body, but you will have to deal with a supervisor for that, right? All right. Is it advisable to disclose unauthorized work? You have to. You have to be honest on your forms. You cannot not disclose. If you don't disclose and you're caught lying on your forms, you will be charged with fraud. So for some applications, for most applications, it's not going to make a difference. For example, you're filing for a green card based on a marriage to a US citizen. For some applications, like you're filing for a green card based on employment petition, unauthorized work, if it's lasted for more than 180 days, is going to prevent you from becoming a green card holder But if you know that, just don't file that application, all right? Again, work with a lawyer. It's better to prevent denials, not have them, than just file for something and just head on to the denial thing. Hi, Madam S. Did they process cases for marriage green cards for people from travel ban countries? If they're processing cases, no, they're not processing cases of people from the travel ban countries. They stated so right there on pause. What does it actually mean by removal proceedings? It's deportation proceedings. Since 1996, we call deportation proceedings removal proceedings because what happened is that the legal terminology changed for different legal actions. Previously, we had exclusion proceedings and deportation proceedings. Now it's all under removal proceedings. And we have different designation for people's status rather than different names for the proceedings. A person may be somebody who was admitted or paroled. If they're paroled, we call them arriving alien. Or a person may be somebody who overstayed their status, but they're all going to be in the same type of proceedings, removal proceedings. It's just a legal terminology. All right. Is it even safe right now to even start process of status through marriage? Start process of status through marriage? Hi, Ashley. Is it safe? Not for certain people. For most people, it is safe. Okay, it depends on your non-citizens situation, rather. You are welcome. If your asylum status was granted by IJ, should I worry? Hi, Hunter. Should you worry about what? Just because an immigration judge granted your status, but the government would uncover fraud in your case, they will still going to go after the status. If you received grant of asylum status and your case was honest, true case, nothing's going to happen to you, okay? Don't worry about that. Unless, of course, you're going to somehow pick up new grounds of exclusion from the United States, usually related to criminal acts, okay? Hi, ask me, how long do I have to wait to travel after getting tourist visa? You got a tourist visa, so you need to enter the United States within the validity of that visa, right? I'm sorry, Esme, I may not understand your question properly. Ask it with more details, okay? What is your process for your clients to go do immigration psychological evaluations? Hi, Dr. Royalty. What my process, I refer clients in certain cases to do the psychological evaluations, which may be very helpful for certain cases, of course. And the doctor takes it from there. I never interfere with the process. I never advise an expert what to do. I never give them any suggestions to make sure that the expert report is as pure as possible in case someone questions that report. I, as an attorney, cannot contribute to it at all. Nothing. Maximum what I can do sometimes is to forward a copy of the client's documents just for the purposes of convenience to the expert. That's it. That's it. If we have a trial, I do prepare with an expert. Usually the way we do that is that we have a list of questions that we go over, questions that I ask as an attorney, I would ask an expert to answer in court, and questions that I believe a judge or a prosecutor may ask an expert. Most experts that I work with, they're so experienced that they're going to tell me what questions they're being asked, not vice versa, even though I practiced for 17 years. So most experts are getting admitted as experts in courts without any extra voir dire, right? Procedure. That's a procedure when the government wants to challenge an expert being an expert. Is it safe? Hi, lovers speak. Is it safe to travel by plane domestically as a pending asylum applicant? Not safe. I cannot tell if it's safe. Your asylum pending status is not anything that prevents the government from picking you up and placing you in removal proceedings, making your life harder. All right? If you initially entered with a visa, you qualify for bond. But if not, you may not even qualify for a bond, and it will turn into a nightmare. So I would say not right now, guys. There are different courts ruling differently on various issues of detention and bond. But again, do you really want to be that example? Your name to be flashed everywhere in the news? I'd say not. Listen, I do not recommend anything to my clients what I would not recommend to myself or my family members. That's it, all right? Don't travel. You can have everything that you need inside of your house, okay? In terms of new, fresh, uh, feelings that you get with travel. Hi, Christian. Can I travel with my advanced parole after submitting a fee for I-45U visa? Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't go anywhere. I filed for VAWA in December of 2025. How long will it take to receive a receipt or notice? You should receive it pretty quickly. For cases filed roughly after November of 2025, we receive those notices swiftly, within like 30 days. All right, you are welcome, guys. Hi, Soho Cuts. I'm a student. I need to go to my school, but I'm afraid to fly. Is it safe now? Is your school somewhere far away from you? How did this happen? If you maintain lawful non-immigrant status, you should be absolutely safe to travel. Do you have to go to school full time? All right. It's not sure what's going on there. I don't have any criminal history or have not overstayed. Right, so you should be fine if you maintain your lawful status. How long is a partial ban? Hi, Elizabeth. I do not know. All we know is that the government stated that within 90 days, they will be identifying the most serious cases, blah, 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 something, something. But really, there are no deadlines to that. So we do not know what's going to happen. We really, truly do not know. You are a fraud. Go back to Ukraine and start supporting your man. Why would I have to go to Ukraine? I've never been a citizen of Ukraine. I don't even think I've visited Ukraine. So I have some people online saying that they should go back to Ukraine. It's like, we have this situations now when Native Americans, I mean, the ICE grabs Native Americans and trying to deport them, but to where? It's their land. Oh my God, this is hilarious. All right. Hi, Delta, 15-year-old DUI, DWI case damaged my case. It can be. I do not know what truly happened there. All I can tell you is this. Currently, of course, the government does not want to have any people with DUI, DWI filing for anything. They're challenging you based on lack of good moral character, because legally, usually such convictions, unless they're aggravated, do not present a problem for the case. They may present a problem for your good moral character. That's how it works, right? And so do not know what happened there, right? I cannot tell you. You probably work with the lawyers, they know better, all right? I can still apply and travel ban to be lifted, or should I wait?